Gone in the Night is a slow burn of a mystery thriller with an intriguing finale. But is it worth a watch? Here's my review of Gone in the Night. The story follows Kath and Max, a couple who rented a cabin in the woods to rekindle their relationship, which is on the brink of collapse. Max is immature under the guise of being adventurous, while Kath is serious and conservative, but amicable to avoid being the first to break it off with Max. Out the gate, you can tell this relationship is rocky. When they arrive to the cabin, another couple is already occupying it. They are Al, who's lanky and scattered, and his girlfriend, Greta, who's quirky and gregarious and comes on a little too strong for Kath's taste. Both couples, we're told, have overbooked this cabin. They compromise, they come to an agreement, and both couples stay for the night since it's too late for Kath and Max to drive the 2 hours home. The next 8 minutes unfold so uncomfortably, not just for the audience, but also for the couples, particularly Kath, as they play a game of Pillow Talkers, a board game for swingers. It gets a little too adventurous for Kath's taste, so she quits the game and turns in early. The next morning, when she awakens, Max is gone. Not just gone from their bedroom, it looks like he had never been there to begin with. Al tells Kath that Greta and Max hooked up and left together. A week passes and Kath hasn't even heard from Max. She contacts the cabin owner, Nicholas, to get Greta's contact information to stalk her. She's too ashamed to contact Max. She figured he should have contacted her first. So she wants to figure out who this Greta girl is. She's too prideful to call Max. Now, Nicholas is a recluse suffering from a rare disease. He and Kath strike up a friendship as they hunt for clues about Greta's whereabouts and Max's relationship with her. And although Kath locates and confronts Greta, Max is nowhere to be found. So Greta tells Kath that, he doesn't want to be with her anymore. He wants to be with her. And so Kath accepts the distance and lets it go for now. Eventually, Kath discovers that there's foul play surrounding the disappearance of Max, especially since his favorite hat, which he really cherishes and paid a handsome sum for, which he'd never go anywhere without, was left behind. So that piques Kath's curiosity, and she ends up following a trail and a trap that leads to what really happened to Max in a stunning conclusion and twist, which I won't spoil here. So, is this a decent movie? The structure lulls in the second act, concentrating on what is seemingly a courtship brewing between Dermot Mulroney's character Nicholas and Winona's character Kath. You won't know what's really going on until the final 15 minutes of the film, the climax until the finale. Because of the pacing in the second act, it felt like answers to the clues and the questions you'll have while watching the film were stuffed into the third act, to the end of the third act. Structurally, though, it works. That sounds confusing, but I found myself getting a little impatient waiting for some of the action because the trailer will confuse you, I think. I was expecting a different movie from what I saw in the trailer, It made me believe that there would be more action sequences in this film, and there aren't. Action is reserved for the end. Now, the story's red herring, planted at the midpoint, is a conversation. It's a conversation between Max, Kath, and their dinner guests about a cult, which is somewhat subtle in the conversation. It's nuanced, but somehow effective. There are no timestamps, but there are sequence flashbacks that reveal what actually unfolded in particular scenes. It's really difficult to elaborate without spoiling it. And it's edited effortlessly, and those dramatic elements keep you engaged in the story, mostly because you're anxious to find out what actually happened to Max. And Max is not a character you're rooting for initially. He seems kind of like a prick, but because you're rooting for Winona's character, Kath, you're rooting for her to find out what happened to him more so than you're rooting for him. And because of the red herring about cults, and then Max immediately meets Greta and Al and pretends not to know them at the cabin, you prematurely conclude that Max was abducted by a cult. And now you're fearing for Kath. Again, there's a cliffhanger that will shock you, and I won't spoil it for those who have not seen it. I think it pays off. It's a good payoff, but honestly, it didn't go far enough. I think they spent so much time with the pacing is a little off, but they spend so much time in acts 1 and 2, maybe even overstaying its welcome in those acts, that by the time you get to the climax and the finale, it sort of feels like they crammed it in at the end. But I think if you don't mind slow burns, you'll probably enjoy this film. It's well structured. It's a well structured story, and the twist is shocking again, even though it doesn't go far enough. It's satisfying. On a grading scale, I rate Gone Into the Night a solid B. It's definitely worth a watch. Have you seen it yet? I know it didn't do very well at the box office over the weekend. It seemed like people were enjoying it, but it didn't do well at the box office. Thank you so much. If you stuck around this long, I certainly appreciate you. Please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And until next time, peace.